Hello. I'd like to share my story of personal empowerment in the face of frustration, which had led to disengagement, which was bordering on despair. Now, if you've seen the movie Groundhog Day, you may have an idea of what I was feeling. Like Bill Murray's character, I felt like I was waking up to the same situation every day and nothing was advancing. And it turns out that we had problems that were both weather related. You see, I've been teaching about climate change in colleges for a long time, explaining to students how there's evidence that human-caused greenhouse gas emissions were raising the temperature of the planet and that this could have very dangerous consequences. In fact, I had my first job when I started as an assistant professor in Illinois 1 year after the fabled Earth Summit was held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. This is what gave us the United Nations Convention on Climate Change, the idea to have a Congress of the Parties every year. These cops, there have been good cops and bad cops, and they've included the Kyoto Protocol, the Paris Agreement, and most recently, the Glasgow Summit. So I've been talking about this year after year after year, and nothing seems to change. Nothing seems to change fast enough, anyway. And I was just getting frustrated. The students never got any older, and the emissions just kept going up. Indeed, more than half of humanity's full complement of emissions have occurred since the Rio Summit. The Earth is burning, and I was getting very disillusioned. So last summer, I had a bit of an epiphany, confronting all the wildfires, about the floods, the heat waves, and I was getting despondent, hopeless. So I knew I had to act. I had to crawl out of my academic burrow and do something. I had read the psychology, right? Despair leads to inaction, and that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So action creates hope. So what was I going to do? I knew it couldn't be about personal lifestyle choices, okay? I have been good about trying to keep a low carbon footprint, and I intend to keep doing that. It's part of my values. It's important to me. We should all be doing that. But when I learned that one of the first developers and promoters of a personal carbon footprint calculator was the fossil fuel giant BP, it made me understand that companies like that would like nothing better than for us to busy ourselves changing light bulbs and sorting our recycling and shaming each other. When what really needed to happen was shutting down fossil fuel plants, was stopping the pipelines, was building electric car factories. The urgency of the moment requires very big, systematic change. And the only way to do that is through legislation, through international agreements, through politics. Okay, so I'm going to become a political activist. This scares me. See, I'm from the Midwest, and I don't like to confront people. I don't like to ask strangers to do things. I just want to be nice, and I want people to like me. So I had to venture lightly into this activist domain. I decided to enlist my Midwestern sense of duty by starting to write a blog. Every other week, I'm going to write a blog about what I'm doing, my activism, and that would keep me at it, right? So what do I do? When you don't know what you're doing, you seek out people who do. So I got on the mailing list of various climate-friendly organizations and got their action alerts, and there's plenty to choose from. Now, these organizations make it very easy for you to add your name to a petition or submit a form letter to a legislator, but I wanted to do a little better than that. My first act was writing an old-fashioned paper letter to my senators, okay? I learned from Environment America about a campaign to protect something that I was thinking a lot about that sweltering summer, the beach. It turns out that these intensive rainfalls that are occurring more commonly with climate change are sending sewage in cities overflowing into the street sewer systems and then into lakes and into oceans. They're contaminating drinking water supplies, and they're closing down beaches. Well, in the infrastructure bill, the bipartisan one, there's a lot of money in there for improving city waterworks. So this campaign had us writing to senators to encourage them to support that. Okay, pretty straightforward. So I did, and I tell you, it was quite energizing just putting those simple envelopes in a mailbox. And by the way, you may know the bill passed. Okay? My second act was to venture into the waters, the obscure, arcane process of rulemaking in executive agencies. Okay? I learned through the League of Conservation Voters that the Biden administration was reinstating rules to raise mileage standards on cars and lower emission standards. These have been dismantled by the Trump administration. So every rulemaking process invites public comment. There's a period for that. And all I had to do, was turn off the projector, was send my opinion to the .gov website that they provided with their talking points. Okay, so I'm kind of getting my activist vibe here. And I decided I'm going to do something radical. Lobby. Okay? Well, initially, lobby training. Okay, so I did this through the Venerable Sierra Club. I joined a big nationwide training Zoom webinar. And with hundreds of other people, I learned that, just any small constituency can ask for a meeting with your lawmakers. And there's a protocol. You go and you thank them for the good work they've done, or if they haven't done any, then you thank them for seeing you. You say why you're there. You maybe share a couple of personal stories that's related to the topic. And then you culminate in an ask, which may be, signing on or co-sponsoring a piece of legislation or something like that. I tell you, just joining this training session opened the activist floodgates. I had a coach named Rachel who started calling me and sending me emails. They got me involved in a statewide organizational planning meeting around lobbying, and they put me in a lobbying party to go see my U.S. representative right here and advocate for support of the Build Back Better bill and the game-changing climate provisions that are in that. Okay? So, I'm ready to talk to strangers. So now that I've got my BFFs at the Sierra Club, I joined in some phone banking over several evenings. And here we were trying again to contact and get moving the holdouts, preventing the Build Back Better bill from getting, legislated. And the way we did this was we were calling Sierra Club members in West Virginia, represented by Joe Manchin, and in Arizona, represented by Kristen Sinema. And who knew this could be so fun? First, they make it easy, right? They give you a little application, and it has a script and little check boxes with the outcomes and the phone numbers. There's always staff members from Sierra Club able to answer questions. And I was talking to like-minded people. I'm talking to Sierra Club members. So they traded stories about successes and failures, their days of activism. I heard some choice words for Senator Manchin. And it was just more climate love, more energy for activism, more mutual purpose. So I think I've started through things like these phone calls and all sorts of Zoom meetings to engage my inner climate activist and crawl out of my burrow. I'm going to keep writing my blog. I'm now part of a small state committee in the Sierra Club to help move some climate activism forward, and I'll do some other things. And I feel empowered. So I hope that, these ideas maybe generate some ideas for you, right? Certainly, I would ask that you and everyone do at least 2 essential things to move this climate issue forward. And I'm particularly looking at the young people in the room, my wonderful students. The first is vote. Vote for climate-friendly candidates. As former President Obama said at the Glasgow meeting, vote as if your life depended on it, because it does. And second, talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. Climate change is not an environmental issue. As Katharine Hayhoe says, it's an everything issue. We need to put it on everybody's radar every single day. So I hope you do these 2 things, and I hope you choose to do more things. It's easy to fall into a sense of being overwhelmed, apathy, and hopelessness. But remember, despair is our greatest enemy. Slay it with action. Confront the climate emergency with your own agency. You'll secure your future, and you might have just as much fun as I had doing it. Thank you.